Did I want a hobby or did I want a business? And I took offense to that because I didn't think it was a hobby, but in reality, I'd really treated it as if it was. I literally have $20 to my name. Monday morning comes, I have 5 new members show up at the front door. The next day it was 4. The following day it was 5 again. I mean, that week, every day. By Thursday, I'm in tears again. And I'm like, God's just showing off at this point. You know, we sold $1,000 today. It was, just like we were on top of the world. And we were doing maybe $12,000 to $15,000 per month to $40,000 a month from 17. Again, we've arrived. I think I would start over at 50 years old. No, but it has been worth the journey 1,000 times over. The highs, the lows, all of it. And just do it. Just do it.
Welcome back to the Wellness Business Secrets Podcast. I'm your host, Josh, and today we have on 2 very special guests. We have the owners of Ultra Cryo. They are outside of Orlando, 3 locations now, looking to scale to 30. And they have some big things planned. And so what I want to do is we're coming here on an on-site meeting, and I wanted to kind of bring you in on this conversation. We're going to kind of talk about their journey, where they started. I think you're going to love that, especially if you're someone that's bootstrapping your business or starting from scratch. Over the last 6 years, they have built a little of an empire here, and they're looking to scale it. So excited for you guys to join us. Let's jump into the conversation. Paul, Terry.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So glad to have you guys.
We are glad to be here.
I feel like I've known you forever now after this on-site trip. So where I really wanted to start the conversation is because there's this thing that we see happen a lot in business, and I call it the 7-figure trap. And it's where everyone on online, they think that once they hit 7 figures, they have made it, they're there. It's time to go buy the Corvette or the Lambo, retire, go work in Bali, whatever it may be. And I think it's a trap that a lot of entrepreneurs face, especially nowadays with social media. And what I really want to start with is your journey of how you got here. And then we'll talk about the 7 figures plus, some of the problems that you face with that, right? How 7 figures is not just idea, right? This doesn't mean your business is booming. But let's start with Terry. Talk to us about how you started in the gym space. Like, how did you become an entrepreneur?
Well, I never considered myself an entrepreneur until March of this year. And it hit me speaking and helping others that, wow, I'm sitting in here with a room full of people that I consider to be entrepreneurs, and guess what? I'm just like you, and it hit me then. So I've just recently discovered that I am actually an entrepreneur. So it's a new phase for me. But I started the gym in 2010. It was a passion. I spent a ton of time at the gym working out myself, always been a fitness guru and buff. And I decided I wanted to bridge a gap between the $9.99 a month fitness people and the $199 a month fitness people. I wanted to find that in between so I could help more people and families. It was important to bring families together because typically the husband would go and work out, the wife would be at home with the kids, or the wife's working out doing her thing and the husband's over here doing his. Wanted to find a way to bring them together in a format where their kids were welcome to watch and take note or to dive in and exercise with them. So I started with that. It was never about the money. It was more about the passion. But I opened the doors and they came. I mean, it was literally Field of Dreams. And obviously through that journey, there were ups and downs. It's like a revolving door when you open a gym. And through that process, I encountered a really low time. I encountered what I call a mutiny. And I know that it happens a lot. I'd seen it happen to other small facilities, but thought I was immune to it. I was not. And during this time, I had met Paul, and he had come in to my life and to my space, wanting to elevate it and make it better. Did I want a hobby or did I want a business? And I took offense to that because I didn't think it was a hobby, but in reality, I'd really treated it as if it was and made money despite myself, to be honest with you, really a godsend. And so we started making changes, building it, making it better, making it more into a business and functioning as a business. And it continued to grow. And from there, he always wanted to have his own. And be a part of building something himself instead of building for others. And so we started talking about how we could make that happen.
Yeah. So I'm going to do something here that's very, hopefully no one thinks it's inappropriate, but I'm going to ask this question is when you started that first business, how old were you?
Oh, I had just turned 50.
And Paul, when you made the decision that you were going to jump on board and get in the business for the first time, how old were you?
49.
49. It's a shift, right? To go from 50 years of life to I'm opening up a gym. What brought you there? Like, what was going on in your head?
So I was a roofing contractor. I held the license for the company that I worked for. In that process, we hit that area where the crash had happened. So a lot we'd been through a couple of hurricanes. So a lot of things had been done. So the market was kind of going down a little bit. And I found myself working, but not getting paid. And I'd hit a point where I was owed about $25,000 in back pay. And it was presented to me that, why don't you open your own? And I said, well, I'm working. I have a job. And they're like, you don't get paid. You really don't have a job. And all of a sudden the reality came and I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Am I going to sit around and keep waiting and hoping that they're going to pay me? Or am I going to step out and do something that one is very rewarding and I'm in more control of? And then I was pushed. My son came to me one day and he said, Mom, I'm moving the equipment from the back patio into the building. It's time. You're ready. And I'm like, no, not yet. And here comes the truck backing up to the dock of the building. And they brought the equipment in and it was time to go to work.
Yeah. Did you feel prepared? Did you feel like you planned for it? It was detailed?
No. Even when I feel prepared, I feel unprepared. Yes. Like I haven't done quite enough to be ready for that day. No, I wasn't. I was scared. I was totally scared, but I was already at the point where I wasn't making any money. So to not make any money, opening a fitness center at the beginning, that wasn't scary to me. I was just, are they going to come?
And Paul, when you came into the picture, the gym's up and running. We have members there. What was the crazy part about you to go from, because your background's in sales, right? So you have not owned a business before this point, correct? So what's going through your mind when you meet Terry and you see what's going on?
I was very excited. I seen this business that she was running and seen so much potential. I had worked for many corporate companies and made them millions of dollars, being VP of sales, business development. And here was an opportunity I could help someone I knew and loved to build their business. And so I just seen different ways to generate revenue and to bring people in. And so just started talking to her about it. And she at first was like, no, I got this. And then eventually she's like, okay, well, let's try it. And through there, I gained her trust that what I was saying actually would work. And from there, it just continued to grow and became a very successful gym.
That's one sentence that you just said there. And I think a lot of times people see that as one sentence, right? We call it the overnight success story. That was not really an overnight success story.
No.
So still thinking back then, you mentioned something about kind of hitting some low points. The other day at dinner, you talked about having $20 in the bank account.
I had probably 120 members and my coaching staff all leave. I had a basis of about 20 to 30 that stayed with me, that stayed loyal through that. I debated continuing to do it because I felt like, what do I do? And he just set me straight. He's like, first of all, you've got to stop crying. It's done and it's over. What are you going to do to move forward? Didn't really want to hear that. I was having a pity party. And number two, he says, so what do you want to do if you close it? And I was like, well, I'll go to somebody else and I'll coach for them. And he's like, that makes no sense to me at all. You have what you want to do. You built it once, build it again. Keep those doors open. And every time those people drive up and down that street and your doors are still open and cars are building and people are coming, that is your high. That's what you're going to thrive off of. And so we did. And there were moments in that time we were sitting there Sunday morning getting ready to go to church. And I said, wow, I don't know what I'm going to do this week. I literally have $20 to my name and I've got to put gas in my car. And he goes, do you tithe? And I said, I can't. I have 20, did you not hear me? I have $20 and I had a Camaro SS gas hog, and which I loved it though. And he said, you give that to God and let him take care of you. Just trust me on this. And so I said, he goes, if it doesn't come through for you, I'll pay you back your $20. And I said, okay, you remember you said that, okay? Because I'm going to ask you for my $20 at the end of this week. I'm going to need gas. And so I did. And Monday morning comes, I have 5 new members show up at the front door.
Wow.
Cash in hand, committed to a year's worth of membership with me. The next day it was 4. The following day it was 5 again. I mean, that week, every day. By Thursday, I'm in tears again, and I'm like, God's just showing off at this point, right? And so I knew then that I was supposed to stay there and continue the path I had started. And I knew then that from that moment on, I would always, always tithe. Because it doesn't always come to you in monetary value. It was more the confidence that I got that I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But I was also being faithful and doing what I was supposed to do. So, people ask, what's our secret sauce? And it starts there. And so that's my story. And it was a tough, scary time. But I listened to him. Not always,
Yeah.
but I listened to that one. So that was good.
Where does this mindset come from? The faith there, not being in business before, but pushing her in that direction, calling her out on the tithe.
It came from my own past. It came from my own history of doing the same thing myself, of learning to tithe. And in the day I started tithing, from that day to this day, I've never worried about revenue or money or where I'm going or what I'm doing ever. My life has been amazing since then. So I knew immediately how it shaped my life and other people too. And so to watch her trust and have faith to do that, and then watch God just take her life in a different direction is amazing. But the mindset comes from, I had a hard past. I had a hard life. I was raised poor and uneducated, and I had to find a way. And it comes from inside. It comes with having that faith with God, of him continuing to bless me. Even when I didn't have the education, even when I didn't have the resources, he still blessed me. And so I knew that if I was faithful, if she was faithful to God, that he would be faithful to her as well. Yeah. And it paid off more than tenfold. Mm-hmm.
I'm jumping ahead just a little bit, but you told a story when you guys hired a CFO, came in, looked at the books, saw some things on that, the giving, the contributions. Can you walk through that story and walk through how it changed him in a sense too?
Yeah, so we were at a conference. It was CryoCon 2 years ago, and a gentleman stood up there and he talked about numbers. And we watched Marcus Lemonis and talking about, you got to know your numbers, Mm-hmm. So we're like, we don't know our numbers, so maybe this guy knows our numbers. So we watched him and we hired his company, and they go through our financials, and right out of gate, the guy we were working with, Jack, is like, something's amiss here. We need to dive in a little bit more on what's going on with his contribution. What's all into that? Because it can't just be tithing. And so Terry was quick to say, no, that is all tithing, and that's what we're going to do, and that's how we do it. And he goes, well, I work with people all over the world, and they do tithe, but they tithe on 10% of the profit. You guys are paying 10% of the top line. And so Terry says, yes, we give God the very first, the best, not what's left. And he's like, well, I've never heard that before, but apparently it's working for you. You've been very successful. So later on, he comes back to us and says, after you shared that with me, I felt led to change the way I'm looking at this too, and give God the first and the best. And so he thanked us for sharing that with him. And you get to continue to share these things with different people and watch their life change, just like yours has. They're surprised. I'm not.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so we go from, because we start the gym, right? And obviously it's ultra cryo recovery. So you guys are probably wondering, how do we go from gym to ultra cryo recovery? So walk me through that shift. Like, when did you guys decide that, hey, we're going to do something a little bit different with this business? Paul, I know you kind of pushed that forward. Like, walk me through, like, when did you make that decision and why did you make it?
Yeah, so my background is building companies, where there's been printing companies, alarm companies, durable medical equipment companies, home care companies. I've been very successful in everything I do, but it's always been someone else's company.
Yep.
So I've always had this desire of, man, I made other people millionaires, literally. I would love to do that for myself. And whenever I met Terry, she had a business and we started dating. I go, man, maybe she will let me be a part of this. And so we talked about it, and she gave me 50% of her company that there was no value to at all. So good for her. And I really dug in and started putting things in place, and we turned it into a 210 members, and we sold it for a really large amount of money. And so with all that said, is I wanted to own a business. So she had 700 square foot downstairs, and I am a neat freak. Like, everything has to have a place. Terry, not so much. And so she had a coach office, which had a bunch of garbage in it, and I don't even know what was all over there. But by the time I emptied it, I filled like 2 dumpsters up of garbage, right? And so I sat down with her. I said, so after reading entrepreneur books and doing my research, 2 things. We can either get into the dog business, where we do like doggy daycare, boarding, things like that, because that's a business I think that will sustain whenever financial times hit hard. People still going to spend money on their animals. Or we can get in the health industry, which is my past 30 years is health industry, and where we can help other people to overcome whatever problem that we come up with. And so she's like, okay. So we drove to Orlando, which from here is not that far, but when you start driving, it was 2 hours one way. And so we go to look at this doggy daycare, and before we even got there, we were already out of it just because of the drive.
Yep.
And so we came back dejected. And so reading more, it came up a cryotherapy machine, whole body cryotherapy. I seen an entrepreneur book that had that in there. And so I talked to Terry. She goes, yeah, I looked into that before. And so at that point we committed. We go, okay, we're going to do this. So found a machine, and we repaired the entire downstairs, from laying tile to texture in the walls to electricity, new bathroom, everything. And so we set a date to open, and we hit that date of September 24th. That was our grand opening, and it was all the way to the last minute. I'm sure they could smell the paint fumes. But we got there, and it was the most exciting time in my life. I was so excited and scared at the same time.
Yep.
But that's where we got started.
There's a very important concept from this. One of my, favorite businesses to study, like their beginning is 3M. So 3M, they make a ton of different things now, but they started as a felt mining business. And they were a part of a study where they looked at what we call visionary companies that have lasted 50 plus years. And the most interesting part of that study is that none of the businesses outside of 2 started with the product that they stayed with. Mm-hmm. And so it's really cool to see your guys' journey, and we'll get a little bit into the details of how they're going to scale it. But you guys are at a place right now where you have truly built a great company that can scale. But it didn't start with what you currently have. No. That's the part I think is so important for people to know. It didn't start with the services you already offer, the packages you already have. It started as a gym, mm-hmm. right? That then turned into a 700 square foot where you started with just a piece of cryo equipment, right? Mm-hmm. And then now we've scaled into here. And so for people that struggle with that, you're looking for what's the perfect ideal? What's the perfect business to start? What should you sell? How much should you sell it for? I actually think those things are all secondary to the first thing of just you need to start, because it's going to grow into something, right? As long as you do it right, it's going to grow into something. Right. And it's funny to hear the difference of dog care to this, but either way you would have went, probably still would have been successful. And so I think it's, people need to get out of their heads when they're starting new businesses or they're trying to take the action, no matter how old you are, of it doesn't really matter in the beginning, right? The biggest thing you need to be focused on is how do you care, right? How do you have heart for it? And then how do you think about how do we build a great company?
Yeah.
And then because industries change, products change, all those things will change. But if you build something, it's going to last. And so for you guys, I want to now dive into, so you've opened up Ultra Cryo, right? We're at that point in the story. Talk about that after the grand opening. Like, where did you guys go from there? Were you fully staffed already? Were you doing some of the work? Like, what did it look like when we opened up here?
No, what it really looked like was I would get up in the morning, put on my shirt and tie, and I would head to Miami or Gainesville or Sarasota to go do my job. And Terry was sent to the gym / cryotherapy to run all of it all by herself, literally.
Because you're still working at this point too, right? You haven't retired yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm working full time, and I worked full time for 4 years before I retired to work with Terry full time now in cryo. But yeah, she was left on her own. There was so much going on, and for Terry to try to run her gym, run the cryo, learn how to sell, learn how to run the cryo machines, it was amazing to watch. I knew at that point I had picked the right partner in life and a right business partner just by her can-do attitude. Just she got stuff done, and it invigorated me to do more and to push her harder. And just watching her, and I would get off work 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I would come in with my shirt and tie, and I would run people through cryo chambers and put on the Normatec compression, run the massage gun, tape them with the tape, do whatever I had to do to support her. But ultimately, it was her. I was doing the business model. I was writing, different things. But she was selling. She was operating. She was doing it all. I was so impressed by her. Still am today.
So Paul just gave us the secret sauce. You just need a Terry. If you have a Terry, you're good.
Yeah, I agree.
Terry, so you're there, ground level. You're running ops, essentially, right? Doing everything from, I'm assuming you're still doing the selling, you're putting people into machines. What's that look like for you?
It was a fast and frenzied day from open to, so I would start with a 5 a.m. class doing gym, coaching 5 a.m. class.
And I'm sorry to interrupt here, but this is because you're still, right now, you haven't sold the gym yet.
Correct.
Right? So we're launching
Correct.
a second business in the gym. You're still running the gym.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. First 4 years of cryo, it was gym and cryotherapy. And so I would coach classes, coach the 8:30, then change clothes, open up for cryo. And then I would be down there, all throughout the day. Finally, probably 2 months in, I hired a part-timer for the afternoon. And that was scary because I didn't feel like I never felt like I could afford or I was ready. You asked me that earlier, were you ready? Never ever felt like I was ready for that next step. He was always telling me, we're ready. We need to go the next level. We've got to do this. So I hired the sweetest, love her to death. She is still a very precious person to us. Hired her. She was in school. So she came in the afternoons, caught on to everything super fast, really helped me a lot. So when you bring in more help, there's more business that comes with that for some reason because you're able to handle it. She and I are just running back and forth. We're just like, great day, great day, great day. We sold $1,000 today. It was, just like we were on top of the world. And we were doing maybe 12 to 15,000 per month and thought we had arrived. You multiply that out by 12 months, you're 6 figures. It's like, yeah, this is good stuff. But he knew there had to be something bigger. And so we went to a convention, we learned lots of stuff, and we found out there was another side, a whole nother side to this business we knew nothing about. And so we sat down with people at lunch, and they were so giving and caring and just started pouring into us what they're doing, what machines they're using, how they get there. And so we're on the plane going home and stacks of notes, and he goes, tell me the top 3 things you want. And I'm like, I need to go aesthetics. I need a sauna, infrared sauna. And to this day, neither one of us can remember the third thing that was on that list. But we did all 3. Whatever the third thing was, it was either amazing or it's no longer working. I'm not sure. But we remember those 2 top things because that transformed and changed our business. So we came back from the convention, and within 45 days, we were set up with this new equipment, certified, ready to rock and roll, taking care of our first clients with this new modality. And next thing you know, we went to $40,000 a month from 17. Again, we've arrived. Wow. Do the math. This is pretty good, right? And so he's like, well, if one machine's good, two's better in 700 square feet. Now we have an infrared sauna, 7 to 8 Normatec chairs and room set up for that. We now have the skin. We have the room with the cryo chamber in it. I mean, it's not a lot. A bathroom, which is shared by the gym as well as our clients. So we're trying to do high-end luxury spa, sweaty gym people,
Yep.
So it was insane how everybody was so tolerant of the environment that we were trying to create, both sides, and respectful at the same time. So now he's partitioning a room, and we're getting another machine we're going to go to. Well, now I've got to hire more people. I need more help. So we were so fortunate. We found the right people. One of my coaches wanted to do both. And so we found the right people to make it work, getting people certified, going. And now that income, that revenue chain just starts growing. And as the machines came, the revenue came. And I'm in a room doing services, running people. And he's like, I got to get you out of there. You can't be locked behind a door. We got people waiting at the front desk and somebody's got to be there. So we just kind of battled through each thing. It was a step at a time, learning as we went and pivoting when we needed to pivot and figuring out how to offer the right packages, because we always knew that at the end of the day, we had to be results driven. How are we going to get them from feeling really crappy about themselves to feeling really amazing about themselves? We talk a lot about having fans. They are fans of what we do. They're not clients, but they are absolute fans and they love it. And so 6 years later, we have a lot of the same client base is still with us.
Wow.
And so what we've been doing has been working really well. We are learning and pivoting almost daily because life changes, the environment changes, people change. But he's so driven where I feel comfortable and safe, and I like a safe environment. He's always pushing me out of that. And I've learned that when you make those changes and you step out of that, you grow.
Yes.
And so I think I've grown tremendously from,
Without a shadow of a doubt, you've grown.
having a gym as a hobby to taking it to a thriving business and being able to sell that, and which I never really ever thought I would ever do.
Yeah.
That was part of me. And now having 3 locations, didn't want to do any of those either. That was the pusher over here. I was very happy and content with one running really well. And then we added the second, not so bad. It was great. And then the third was easy. The third one was easy.
That means 30 will be easier?
Well,
It's like
I don't know about that it'll be easier, but I think as we learn and grow, we are fine tuning all of the skills to make adding those extra locations an easier process.
Yeah. So there's 2 things that I want to point out from this. The first one is Paul. She admitted the gym was a hobby. So I just want to put that out there. It's on camera. We got it here. It may start that way and it end that way. But the second thing you mentioned about staff and growth, and a lot of people, they struggle to take that first step, which is where they do get to the point where it's like, I'm doing 6 figures, right? High profit margins because staff is down, right? Service on, cost of goods, pretty good profit margin. So if you don't have labor with that, right, profit margin is not bad. And so some people will get stuck there and they'll stay there. And we call that solopreneurs, right? They just keep running the business, keep doing the same thing every day. But you guys have not been afraid to scale staff. When did we make that shift of we're hiring staff and we're not afraid to hire people?
So Terry would definitely be a solopreneur without she was just stay there. So she is an owner, operator, doer of all things, wants to rely on no one ever, right? That's just who she is. For me, is I watched her at the gym before we even had that. She's very special. She has a gift. And the gift is not behind the closed door. The gift is leading the front, right? She is a natural born leader. Unfortunately, she doesn't know her directions, so she doesn't know where she's going. But I'm telling you, 10 people will follow her to nowhere. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's true.
Google Maps, you're good.
So anyhow, to say that is watching her is I need to keep replacing her. Whatever she's currently doing, I need to replace that. Because I need her to get to the next level and get to the next level and get to the next level. To where she is now, she's more the co-CEO than she is an operator or COO. And that's just from time of pushing her there. You cannot grow. You can only grow as far as that the best person is going to get you. And if your best person is the owner, you have to copy that. You have to clone that. And so that's what we try to do with everyone we've hired is clone what she is currently doing in that role. And so I knew that's what it was going to take to grow it. And, whenever you talk about getting to the scale part it's not scaled if she's the one still doing it.
I like frameworks. I like to boil things down and make them simple for people to be able to kind of see it and then take action on it. And you mentioned something there where it was looking at the things that Terry was doing and then figuring out how do we replace it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very good step for people to take if they're in a position where you're starting, you're doing everything. It's not that you have to replace everything. Right. You're picking one thing at a time of how do we replace this with a person. Mm-hmm. So if you were talking to someone that's, they're running their wellness business, they're doing, $20K a month, mm-hmm. Which you can do as a solopreneur. I mean, you can do $40K like you said. Mm-hmm. Where would you start them, Paul? What were some of those first areas that you were like, hey, we need staffing here?
Well, the first thing I would ask them to do is tell me what you like to do the most. So that would be the thing I would take away last.
Yep.
So what I would start with, what do you like doing the least? And let's replace that first because you're not putting the effort into that. So whether it's a receptionist, whether it's someone who is running your cryo chamber, or whatever that is, wherever you're taking your time that you could be putting it towards growing your business or even making your business more profitable or whatever, wherever you're going to put your time at is to replace you with someone that's going to do that job even better.
Yes. Not
replace level, you want to level up. So, and that's what we did with Terry is I asked her, so what don't you like doing? I knew that I needed her to be the face of the company. And I knew that she couldn't do all that and this. So, and I couldn't take it all off her plate in one day. So what don't you like doing? She goes, I don't like running that chamber. I said, okay, I'll run it for you. So that's what I would do. I would go run the chamber and take that off her plate until we could hire someone to do that. And so once we got past that, now what do you, I don't like being in a compression room putting those on. Okay, you don't have to do that anymore. So we hired someone for that. And so we just kept moving up. And she still wants to do it all, literally. And I'm constantly trying to keep her from doing that. But that's what I would say to someone that's trying to scale or whatever. Take away what you least like doing and replace it with someone who could do that even better. And then once that's in place and working, do it again.
We're going to talk sales because you guys are absolutely phenomenal at it. And it's not, and you're also really good at scaling it across getting other people to do it as well, right? And so I think that's an element to business, that's key there. But before we hop into that, there is a reason I came out here. They've been working with us for about 6 months now, mm-hmm. maybe, and a lot of it has been tremendous to see how you've grown your sales process. But we talk about staffing here and where you guys are at now with going from 3rd location to 5 locations next year, by the end of the next year. What are some of the things that you have seen from this trip that we've talked about that have maybe shifted your mind on how you look at operations and staffing and roles and all of those things?
It wasn't just the staffing. I will start with what I got the most out of it is we talk about opening those 2 new locations. One thing that you mentioned to me yesterday was having a playbook on how to open those locations.
Yes.
Yeah, I've opened 3, right? But I don't have a playbook on it. I have a playbook for almost everything else, but I don't have one for that. So that's something I have to work on. Elevating the responsibility, the accountability of each team member, definitely the leaders, is something we really need to shift to more. Because if me and Terry are still trying to lead the company, it's never going to go where we want it to. We need the critical thinkers. We need people to get in the trenches and own it.
Yes.
And find the people who own it. So that's what I took away from it. How about you?
a lot of that, me not so much the playbook on opening, because I do rely on you to do that. In fact, he makes me stay completely out of the building while it's in process.
Good.
And lets me know when it's okay for me to come in and kind of maybe critique or say, I really didn't want that there, we'll move it. But otherwise, I don't even go in because it never looks like it's going to be ready to open. So he's like, don't come today, there's boxes everywhere. So I stay away. I leave that up to him. And that's one thing that we have. First of all, we have two. A lot of solopreneurs just have one person. They're in there battling, and I tell them just pounding the pavement on their own. And it was that way for us at first because he couldn't be an active partner in the business day to day. So I was that. But having a partner even at the end of the day to come in and rescue me and give me that breathing room and bounce ideas off of, and how do we go the next level, we're really good at that. And we are opposite, but yet we're still so focused in the same direction that our opposites work together. So he's very strong and he can be very commanding, and I come in, he calls me the softer side. And so sometimes I tone down what he's doing. But at the end of the day, for me, it was letting my team do what I hired them to do. And for me to let go, step back, and trust that I've hired the right person for the job. And sometimes it has to be a sink or swim situation. You have to give them enough rope, as my dad would say, to hang themselves. And so, or to succeed, right? And so we always hope for the success end of it. So I really, your guidance with seeing that and knowing that 30 locations is super doable, which I was opposed to, by the way, which you'll find out I'm kind of a no girl. Doing better, but kind of a no girl. But I do see 30 locations being very doable. We have guidance because we've brought you all into our loop and said, hey, we don't know it all. What do you see from up here that we can do better? So we're always trying to grow ourselves so that we can continue to grow our team. So just learning that I have to allow them to do the job I've given them and clearly define that. And then I needed my role clearly defined because now I'm not doing all of those things in order for us to grow. I can't. So then trying to figure out, so where do I go? You know, I love being the mayor of Ultra Cryo and Recovery.
Yep.
You know, I love that. I love holding the babies and hugging the clients and stuff. And I still have a certain amount of that I will always do as long as we own them. But I also have to let my team be that person too.
Yeah.
They have to be the face of the Auburndale location, and we have a face of Lakeland and a face of Davenport. I have to allow them to do that so that we can continue to do the things that our vision is for the future. So I greatly appreciate knowing that, and I'm sure he does too.
Well, and just to piggyback off of that is, you know, getting you and your team to come here has helped Terry and I to get more on the same page as well. Because whenever it is two people, when it's one person, it's sink or swim is your ideal. If it didn't work, you're mad at yourself, right? With a couple or partners is, you know, there's a finger pointing that could go on, or I don't trust you, or we've tried that before. It helps from an outside perspective for someone to come in and give the ideals, and both people agree to that ideal versus it just being one person's ideal. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So that's very helpful for me to help Terry to see my vision and where we're going, and for her to get on board, which she did yesterday. That was a breakthrough yesterday. I watched the whole thing unfold whenever she agreed to 30. That's never happened before.
Man.
So it was good.
I'm getting goosebumps. So before I come out on a trip, like, there's really one thing I'm praying for that happens, and it's clarity. That's really it. Because what I have found a lot of times is that there's no, I love, you know, a mentor of mine, Alex, says this all the time. It's like, there's no one golden bullet, right? It's a ton of little golden BBs and a ton of things that can happen to move a business forward. And what really needs to happen is we just have to be super clear on what is the biggest lever right now. And for you guys, and for someone watching where maybe you are in the brink of, you're thinking about location number 2, location number 3, you're ready to go multiple locations. One of the biggest issues that I can find with owners is that, yes, we can have a team in place, but we almost have kind of pseudo titles in a sense, where it's like, you're a manager here, but you as the owner can still at any point come in and get the job done. Right. And you're kind of prone to that, where you'll get in there, you'll get tasked. You're not afraid to pick up the phones. You're not afraid to go do the consults, close the deal. You'll get in there. And so it's shifting from that mindset of how do you still lead without coming and necessarily getting into the dirty and the weeds. Right. But that doesn't mean that you just ghost. It doesn't mean you leave your business. It means now it's more so you start focusing on how do you now coach those people so that way those leaders can actually lead. Because once you get across, you can do it with 3 locations that are, 15 minutes apart. But it's like, what do you do when you have 6? Right. What do you do when you have one that's 3 hours away? Yeah. And that's where it's like, now we really have to rely on a leadership team that can make the right decisions.
Exactly.
So I love hearing that you guys have gotten some focus and some clarity on that. But now, we can't let the people go without talking about something that you guys do so well. If you don't mind sharing it, can you just talk about kind of average new business per month per location? Like, where are you guys averaging right now?
So we average 100,000+ per month per location in sales. Obviously, we would like to be more, and we've found some areas we can tweak and make that consistency better. So we have clearly gone from this 12 to 13,000 a month days to, I guess we would call that 10xing in a way. And it's crazy. It's crazy. We're so blessed. But we are results driven. And when you're results driven, people want to be a part of what you're offering.
Yeah.
So while we don't know these people when they're coming in at first, it's our goal to earn their trust, share what we can do, find out how it's going to change their lives, and then we're committed to making sure that that happens. And they know that and they feel that before they ever buy anything from us. And so I feel like that's a great success part of it, but then how we follow the exact steps to getting there.
Yes.
So it's like putting a puzzle together, right? You put out together the outsides first so that you're framing it. So we do the same thing. So we have a certain protocol and a certain way we take them and guide them through the process, get to the meat and the nuts and bolts of what their why is. And then this is what we prescribe for you, and here's how we're going to get there. And our team embraces that. And if you don't have a team member that believes in what you do and believes in the outcomes, they aren't your team member. Because I never considered myself a salesperson. Okay, I was great at the gym. Why? Because I love it. I believe it. You should work out. You should be healthy. You can be better. I believe in all the services that we offer. I use them. I'm just turned 63, and I hope not to look that way from using our services. That's my goal. So if you believe in it, it doesn't seem like sales.
Yeah.
It just seems like helping.
Obviously, you're not doing 300K across the locations and new business, new sales, just by yourself.
Correct.
Right? Like, it's not you going and selling everything.
Oh, no.
And if we kind of take that a step back, I love your mentality too. I think you love it too, where she's like, it's not enough, we can get better. So I love that. But that first step of when you had to duplicate yourself and you had to get someone else that can close a deal, when was that? What did you put in place to make that happen? Obviously, I know your process has changed a lot over the time, but for a lot of people, they struggle with that first step of getting someone to come in and do sales.
Yeah. So it wasn't Terry's ideal at all.
That was you.
And she's not a good trainer. She is not a good trainer. And I shared that with you. So she will tell you what you should do. And if you didn't write it down, if you didn't pick it up, it's too bad. Too bad. Because she's not writing it down for you, and she's not going to give you a procedure or a video on it, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's where I've come in and really push hard on her. Accept this person as your shadow today, because they're going to take that position from you.
There we go.
And she doesn't like that, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. And she could be mad and all that, but at the end of the day, she was a great partner, and she would embrace it, and she would do it.
Yep.
And then as time went, she started seeing the momentum. Once she's seen the momentum, she became more open to it. But she still has the mentality today. If you leave her high and dry, she can go do it all by herself.
Yep.
Now, I'm trying to get her away from that mentality. We're getting there. But it's literally me saying, hiring this person, going, they're working with you today. Make sure you teach them everything, you know. And then I would go to that person and say, Terry's not writing nothing down for you. Make sure you have a pen and paper take videos, do whatever you got to do. And so that's when it started going. And then when she would see the results of that, then she embraced more into it.
Yeah.
But it was not what she wanted to do, I promise you.
I love building sales teams. That's kind of one of my biggest passions. And whether it's written down or not, I think that biggest stuff that you just talked about there is the shadowing component, right? Like you're taking someone, they're walking through. I think a lot of times we make mistakes where they hire someone, and especially in a sales position, right? That's a big revenue driving position. And they just go do the consult, and then they wonder why that person isn't closing deals.
Right.
Give some overview of where you guys are at today with your sales process. You know, you've changed some things since we started working together. You can talk about that if you want to.
Yes.
But really, I would love to just get someone where they're kind of starting from, you know, they're doing decent in sales, but they don't have a true sales process in place. Because what you walked me through, she walked me through her entire consult process the other day. I was incredibly impressed. And so I would just love for you to kind of just share a little bit. I know you can't walk through it all,
right?
But give some advice to someone who's looking to start to scale their sales.
And before, because Terry will give you the whole answer on that, but I just kind of want to lay the groundwork. Whenever we started working with you guys, it was the little things. It was the little nuggets that she was picking up, like do an intake form.
Yes.
Right? Set up so we had questions, but it didn't really peel back the layers like the questions you guys gave us, right? And adding in doing the scanning before. I mean, ever since we've done that, we're batting 1,000. So that's working really well.
Right.
So everything that she was learning from Inner Circle and from what you guys were teaching is she put into place. And every time she put it into place, we've seen an increase. And we've seen closing ratios go higher. We've seen confidence in the team because now they had a true process. Oh, I can do that, right? And so then we made a video of it. And then we did a role play of it, and it just kept getting better. So I'll let you go from there.
Yeah. So to break that down, that's such a great overview of it. But to break it down just in the actual details of it, it starts from the minute the client walks in the door. So if you think it's when you get them behind a closed door, you have missed the biggest part of the trust value. And when you see everything from a bird's eye view, I see it from the time the lead comes in. I've seen it walk through the process of the nurturing. It takes some people 6 appointments being set, canceled, and rescheduled before they finally get the courage to walk in the door. So if when they walk in that door, you aren't excited to see them and make them feel welcome right from that moment, you have already lost them. And so we tell our team constantly that it takes people the first 3 to 4 minutes to decide seconds to decide if they like you, they are even going to entertain buying from you, or they're even going to listen to you. And so it's very important to make that first impression. You don't get a second chance, and you hear that all throughout your life. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression. But when you're opening your door to people that are very vulnerable, it is even more important. Okay? Yes. So they come in, we stand up, we greet them, we smile at them. We don't make them wonder if somebody's there, if they walked into the right building. We also have the intake process even before they come in. We know if they want room temperature, cold water. We know what they've done before. We know a lot of information about them when they come in. We have them fill out an intake, and then we start them through our process. We now switched. We added that, and all these years, and we weren't utilizing a very important piece of equipment just in the right order.
Yeah.
So we've switched that. We do that 3D body imaging before the consultation.
Part of the tour.
It's part of the tour. That's what they do first. And so what the importance of that is it red flags for them. It says you are at risk in big, bold, red highlighted letters. When you see that, do you not know that now is your day to make that change? It is time. You came in, and this is telling you the same thing. So crucial and so important. I'm like, I don't even know why we didn't, thank you. Seriously, when you said,
we
hey.
were in the picture, we couldn't see the picture.
Yeah, when you said, hey, have you thought about, I know you guys have this, how are you using it? And we're like, well, this is what we do. We do to show the results. But what about to create the desire to make that change today? Well, heck yeah, we'll try it. And like Paul said, we're batting 1,000. We just started doing it this last week. Every one we've done, we have sold. So that's been phenomenal. A lot of it for us and our team is it's important to build that rapport with them. what's their why. And I told you yesterday during our consult, that we're given 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should listen twice as much as we speak. And so I tell my consultants, if you come out of that room and you need water and your throat is scratchy, you have spoke too much.
Yep.
So zip it and listen. And that's a super big part of it, because you have to find out their why.
There are a few things I want to dive into this. The biggest thing that's huge is that you guys just made a statement where just 2 weeks ago, we give a piece of advice on, hey, you could probably tweak this part of your consult. And we're giving this advice to people that are already doing 60K plus per week in new business, like crazy, crazy stats. And your response to it, I actually didn't even remember giving. I remember we talked about it, but we talked about it and then that was it.
It
right?
was just a passing thought.
Just a passing thought.
Have you thought about it? Mm-hmm.
And your response to it was to look at your process, figure out how can we add this in, how can we get the team doing it, and then it works. And so I think the biggest thing there is that no matter if you're doing $1,000 in new sales per week, if you're doing $100,000 in new sales per week, you're always looking for where can we improve. And that's one thing I've noticed in you too that I love is there is no, the ego's checked is at the door, right? Because you could easily come back and be like, our process is working. We're closing, high percentage. We're making money.
That was yesterday.
That was,
You know what I mean? Today's a new day.
Exactly. That's true. That's so true. But I think it's that continual development that is what allows you to continue to succeed and continue to have growth. And I think that's the biggest thing is that first off, do you even have a sales process, right? If you don't, just think about what you do. Think about what you are currently doing. And then there are going to be multiple points in that sales process to add in different things that can beef it up. The second point I want to make is that it wasn't like you had the perfect sales process 4 years ago.
No.
And then you start scaling to where you're at right now, and then you just do the same thing over and over again. And so a lot of it too is it's one thing at a time. You don't necessarily have to go, especially if you have staff, you don't have to go and be like, hey, we're changing the entire consult process. These 10 new things you have to start doing. I've seen you guys over time. It's more so if you take a nugget, right? You examine it, you figure out how can it fit in, and then you add in that thing. Mm-hmm. And then you wait a little bit, see what happens, and then you add in the next thing. And I think especially if you have staff, that's the way that you roll out changes. Because when it comes to closing, especially closers, salespeople, if you try and change your consult overnight, you're going to notice that it's a big drop off because there's too much overwhelm, it starts getting weird, and then the prospect feels it.
Yep.
So I love that process of rolling it out. For you guys, we solidified the goal yesterday, right? We call it the big target, right? Where do we, if Ultra Cryo is successful, what do you hit in the next 10 years? You've been thinking about the goal a lot, Paul.
Yes.
You've been avoiding the scale a lot. Talk a little bit about vision, thinking, solidifying that goal. How does that make you feel? Talk about goosebumps.
I am a visionary. And I can see things before they happen, and I don't know why that is. It's a gift that I was given. And I will tell you, from meeting Terry, my visionary ability has gotten much greater because it becomes more reality every day.
Yeah.
So it gives me more ammunition to try harder, to push harder, to see bigger. So I want to take it back. Is when we said we did $17,000 a month in cryotherapy, I got to tell you, we were excited. We had a ride, and if we never made $1 more than that, it might have been okay from that day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then when we made it, and I seen we could make more, I go, wait a minute, there's more here, and then there's more here, and then there's more here. So it's being encouraged by you, being encouraged by other leaders in the industry. Just do the walk I have with God and the Holy Spirit guiding us. My vision just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the ultimate vision, some people go, well, it's 30, it's this and that. My whole vision in life, and I didn't start off this way, it just seems to be this way, is to empower women. Is to help women get to where they should be and can be when they don't think they can. And so I've really spent 30 plus years teaching women how to do better in life. And so, but my real vision is to forward the kingdom, right? So if we can hit 30 and they're profitable, I get to tithe more. I get to help more missionaries. I get to help more communities. That's the win. That's the the vision is the kingdom. You know, I want to go to heaven, right? And I want to try to get as many people there that we can. And so this is a vehicle to help us do that.
I think on that note, a great closing would be, Terry, at the age of 50, you made a really big decision for your life. And it's been cool to see how it's played out over the last, getting me a little emotional, Paul, seeing that play out over the last, decade plus. Yeah. And so speak some wisdom into another female entrepreneur's life. Maybe they don't know they're an entrepreneur yet.
Yeah.
But like, what would you tell them?
If you want to do it, don't be afraid. Step out and do it. It's never honestly too late. And if you're young, you're not too young. And if you're older like I was, you're not too old. But see it and do it. Enjoy it. If you're having fun doing it, it's worth it as well. Make it what we always tell our staff, make this job the job you always wanted to have. So make this adventure what you always wanted it to be, because it's just never too late. Did I think I would start over at 50 years old? No, but it has been worth the journey 1,000 times over, the highs, the lows, all of it. And just do it. Just do it. Be courageous. You can do it. I looked out at a convention and looked out at all those ladies, and that's when the reality hit me. So it still took me another 12 years after that to realize that, that I'm who I'm speaking to. These wonderful female entrepreneurs out there. So just go for it. Life's too short.
So if someone wants to, kind of look at Ultra and just kind of study it, see it, things like that, where can they find you guys on Instagram? What's the...
Yeah, so it's at Ultra Cryo Recovery. Actually, if you go and look at it, you'll see our humble beginnings. the terrible commercials that we put out and still do today, but we have fun doing it. You can also follow us on ultracriorecovery.com, our website. We keep changing that all the time. We're on Facebook as well, but you'll find that Terry and I are always available to help anybody at any time.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you guys for coming on today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Guys, so another episode of the Wellness Business Secrets podcast. As promised, we want to do this differently. We want to give you a real insight look. I hope that you got that from today. There are a lot of nuggets that you can take through, from staffing to scaling, taking leaps of faith to your operations. And so really excited for that. If you love this type of content, if you want more of it, then we just ask you for one favor. Please subscribe. Please share it with another business owner that you want to help. And if you are interested in us coming out and actually walking through secret shopping, understanding your location, then go ahead and shoot us a comment, shoot us a DM, shoot me a message, and one of my team members will help you out. We'll see you guys in the next one.